Halló, jó napot kívánok!
I am opening the door.
Re-
Nyitom az ajtót.
Rendben,
Most
köszönjük.
tessék meglökni az ajtót.
Múlt héten Velencében volt, és erről fogok egy kicsit beszélni. Igen. Én teóriám építészetben, hogy nem az építésze fontos, hanem az, aki használja, mondjuk a lakó, az nem mindig lakó, de valakinek hasznos dolog. És ehhez, hogy ez lehetséges legyen, mindig keresek olyan technikát, ami olcsó, amihez nem szükséges különleges technikai felszerelés, könnyen és gyorsan, bricoleur, do it yourself,
Igen.
képes, keresem a szavakat.
Nem baj, semmi baj.
Képes felépíteni. És erre különböző nem kísérlet, különböző
Megvalósítások.
demonstrations.
Igen, megvalósítás.
Ez kénytelen vagyok keresni a szavakat. Tehát a múltban ezt tudtam csinálni. A 80-ban valóban egy nagy épületet meg tudtam csinálni, hogy azok, akik használják, tudták tervezni, hát és de az egy megszokott épület volt technikailag.
Egy iskola?
Mert a közoktatási minisztériumnak kellett csinálni, mert nagyon tradicionális volt, de a processzus, a tervezés, az teljesen a lakók, a használók tudták csinálni. Sokan vitatkoztak, építészek elmondták, ez lehetetlen, de kétszer megcsináltam a valóság. Ami engem érdekel az építészetben, ezek a kísérletek, főleg azok, amikor azt mondják, hogy lehetetlen.
Oké.
Mert az egy önkorlátozás, ha az emberek azt mondják, hogy lehetetlen. És most Velencében ez egy elég tréfás alkalom volt, de 7 évvel ezelőtt a Biennálén, mondtam, Velence valóban a legmodernebb város, nem kell átmenni úttesteken, nincs közlekedési baleset.
Igen.
Az tökéletesen működik. Azon kívül egy szép város, minden, de valami hiányzik, nincsen egy hegy.
Igen.
Születtem egy városban, a város közepén van egy nagy folyó,
Igen.
és mellette nem nagy hegyek, de hegyek.
Így van.
És ez egy nagyon ritka dolog, nagyon kevés várost ismerek, ahol ez a helyzet.
Ahol adott a folyó és a hegy.
Igen. A hegyek, a város mellett az nagyon sok van.
Igen.
De hogy az magában a városban legyen, azt hiszem, hogy Ausztriában, Salzburg és Grazban van.
Igen.
De ez ritkaság az összes nagyvárosokban. Kaptam ezt a nevezzük megbízást, rendben van. Megpróbálunk egy hegyet Velencében, tehát egy hajón, és arra építünk. Nagyon kevés pénzük volt a
Szervezőknek.
Velence nem egy gazdag város, és jó kerestünk egy olcsó megoldást. Az egyetemi diákok azonnal felajánlották természetesen a munkájukat, és én felhasználtam. Lettek a Londonban a Serpentin.
Igen.
Igen, ugyanazt a technikát,
Igen.
de hordóabroncokat
Bravo.
használtam, ami nagyon
Olcsó.
olcsó volt. És azzal felépítettünk egy hajón, volt felépítve, és az sétált a városban. De az érdekes, ez nem az. Kértem a megbízókat, hogy vásároljanak óriási befektetés, 300 euróért, 300 hula hoop.
Igen.
És a hula hooppal a szállodám előtt elkezdtünk, és a lakók, a járókelők és a gyerekek
Beálltak.
azonnal
Akcióba
szaladtak
kezdve.
csinálni, és különböző konstrukciókat hagytam, hogy ők csinálják, csak egy kis technikai magyarázatot, és ez nagyszerűen ment. Ezt azért említem, mert a konklúzióm, hogy ezt nem tudom magyarul mondani, popular architecture.
Okay.
Lehetséges. Vagyis egy építészet a comment dire, közönség által, akinek nincs technikai tudása, képes rá, ha a technika elég egyszerű, ha a pénz nem fontos. Things are small, the imagine that everything is the double of the scale. Then it is like a serpentine.
All right.
But then started the thing with the hula hoop.
Okay. Wow.
It's simply people.
Wonderful.
Before.
Really well.
Yeah.
Bravo.
And they built up so it was a very positive enough that they will redo it periodically in Venice.
Yeah.
It's you see it.
Wonderful.
So this is really what I wanted to show. This is the positive more than you have seen in other
In London.
things. There are as well this, yeah. And then they were used it even as in a hall of the Arsenale, and simply this is the shadows.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful.
So it was a perfect, if you want proof of the theory I am keeping.
Yeah.
Because my point was first that in mobile architecture, architecture can be improvised. This is a technical reason, you know, the old-time architecture or the mainstream architecture today cannot be improvised.
No.
But what I was calling mobile architecture is improvised. The simplest example, the internal architecture within every apartment is improvised. You don't know how people will put the furniture. You don't know how they will live. That means the improvisation starts with this, that the techniques permits mobility. That's the key.
Yeah.
And then now I took it over to the field of the structure. The structure can be mobile also. In the Serpentine, the project was conceived that the building could be changed every month. And the Commission of Royal Parks didn't agree.
Uh-huh.
And bureaucracy, it's sure I couldn't tell anything. The park, Kensington Royal Garden, this belongs to them.
Yeah.
It's even not the City of London, it's the Royal Park Commission. Okay, they had these conditions, like they had the condition that we couldn't have foundations. You have no right to do foundation. Obviously, the Venice, not the hula hoop, but the real structure on the boat, it has no foundations.
Yeah.
that's not necessary. But for me, the important was that this changeability, what was not permitted there, it can be executed by simple people if technically I make it possible. So in Paris, the plan is at the before the Pompidou Center or near the Cité d'Architecture, the Architecture Museum
Yeah.
in Paris. We will build up, and I would like there really to do it, that every month it changes its shape. And if possible, make participate somehow people with the hula hoop. The big advantage, there are no security problems. If I don't know, a ring of a hula hoop falls on your head, you don't even feel it.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's a steel ring, that's completely different.
Exactly.
So this is why it was for me important to use this, because if I am doing it by hula hoop, I don't need to ask a permit.
Yeah, yeah.
That means I shortcut the bureaucracy. Okay, children play in a public space, that's absolutely accepted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you see, I am showing these images that that the will of people to participate, that's evident. They like it, they take it as a game.
Yeah.
And I have to create the conditions that it should be a game, and in a real size, the security conditions that it should be possible to handle with as little risk as possible. So I would be very happy if I can start a trend of popular architecture. There are 2 other Italian cities who are volunteering it to do this within a year, because they realize it's not expensive. They realize that it can be done. If in one place it can be done, and they are interested for their own political reason that people should participate. And there is another thing, the same techniques like I was using in the Serpentine, refugee camps in the Near East, Lebanon.
Yeah.
And there again, the students will construct with things like you saw in the Serpentine. the idea is that a cubicle with these techniques, what you saw at the Serpentine, costs 150 euros. 4 square meter, 150 euros. That's very, very inexpensive. They can do it. And with the work of the beneficiaries, they can do it themselves. Okay, some handiness. And it is the principle of the bidonville, of the shanty town, combined with this. That means the step over the hula hoop, that it is the real inhabitant who will do it
Yeah.
for himself. And they were visiting here, so you know I am not traveling anymore around, I have a certain age. The idea is that it is not organized by some non-governmental United Nations organization, but it's simply charity, a family, a Lebanon family gives a gift to a migrant family of 150 euros. And they can start to build up.
Yeah.
And that's a very important. So in the news generally, I was quite embarrassed by this anti-migrant policy, and I was very happy to see that the public turned it down. That's a very, very important. And this means that really Hungary, in spite whatever it's political, it's a real European country in the best meaning. And I find it's really comforting, because when it was first I read about, I thought it's really
Nonsense.
I thought it's somehow impossible. So I saw that the popular response was for it. Because I am arguing that all the important cities I know in the world, they are cities of immigrants. New York became the world capital, or Los Angeles. It was small village. It was in 50 years, so let us tell 100 years. 100 years, that's, I am 93, that's very near for humanity. It became a world capital. Shanghai was a big city, but my goodness, it's now over 20 million inhabitants.
Yeah.
But these inhabitants are immigrants.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important. I don't think about economy. I don't think it gives a different mentality, an opening. It's not that, but it's that. And economically, okay, people live, the 20 million people, they create jobs simply by their existence. And there was nobody losing their jobs by New York, for example, becoming large. On the contrary. So I was very much glad about this political turnout, and in the same time, I feel that what I am looking for, popular architecture, that's an opening for the newcomers. That means that's the way how city life grows. City life doesn't grow that you make prefabricated army barracks and put people in it like a merchandise. It is that they themselves participate. The shantytown cities in the East or in Latin America became the big cities. So it's, I would tell it's nearly an evolutionary process. And going back to mobile architecture, this means that mainstream architecture and mainstream land policy is exactly blockage. It's not the immigrants are the problem. It is this mainstream policy. I am not speaking about politics. I'm speaking about more important. I'm speaking about really the evolutionary process of human, animal, of society, and that's and it starts with the adaptation process can be explained by games that you build up something with, for example, with hula hoops or anything else. That now you made a play, but this is possibly real skill, and that's the thing what I am interested. I didn't give architects drawings. I was sending them the photographer, the model, but as well the images, how it is built. And they did it perfectly. You know, it's to get out the verbalism. So that's what I am trying in my field by helping these people in Lebanon and by involving the passerby in Italy and by showing in London that's inexpensive, it's easy to do. That's what I'm doing. Not if I am talking or writing articles. That's not that. What convinces people, that's what's tangible. You can't touch it. Okay, that's, you can try it. That's it. That there is real democracy, there is the democracy constitutional. I have a very practical example now, the Brexit. I was several weeks before the Brexit in London, and I realized it is an absurd. It's the how to tell you, is the crisis of democracy. Those who want, they remain, and that's all. So the logical thing that not to put this kind of pseudo-collective decisions, but take it as local decision. Democracy cannot be of a very large size. It's impossible. Democracy means smaller units where people can communicate and discuss. It's not simply the delegates should discuss, people. And they decide what they decide. This is one of the advantages of the United States, and, as well of Germany, that the different states of the United States on the different provinces, Länder of Germany. But my goodness, they can have completely different policies. They are not obliged to take over the policy of the other, and that's important. So I think the problem with democracy is the oversized unit. And the European Union, it's not a decision-making entity. In France you can be in one way, and in Holland in another way. And very funny, so in talk, now in Venice, I was telling, okay, Venice is very different, why not a Republic of Venice? People of the Venice municipality asked me to write about this idea for them. And I was writing it in, it was published in 80 by the Council of Europe, which was before the European Union. And my conclusion would be that Europe is 200 independent cities. It's not 27 states. And for Hungary, Budapest would be for the migrants, and perhaps Veszprém not. That's a reality. So why should Veszprém force Budapest to a policy? Why should Budapest force Veszprém for a policy? Okay, Veszprém doesn't want migrants, fine. Budapest accepts migrants, fine. It's a simple example. You see, for this question, the question of a democracy, it's a question of size. And I find the European Union okay because it doesn't force me to follow a certain policy. And I find quite the right way orientation, the German Länder or the regions in France, which are largely independent. That means a region can decide something in France, and the other region completely different. There can be a region extreme right, it doesn't matter. They want it that way. And the other is extreme left. It's evident. You know, even in a family, there are, that's evident. I like the second question because I am always telling the word freedom, it's a false abstraction. I want to be free to talk. I want to be free to go somewhere. I want to be free to stay somewhere. That means freedom as an abstract word doesn't mean anything. You are free to do something, and that's all. And so each of us takes for himself all kinds of freedoms, and other ones are not important for. It's an individual word, and the abstract word freedom. All the extreme parties speak about freedom, doing the opposite. Freedom is personal, and you decide what freedom you want to use, and that's they are interested to make money, you know, they are not interested to do something. It's simply people with personal curiosity like me, they are interested. But luckily there are people, other people, so I have many of people I am meeting like you, who are open and who their own construction out of it. That's what I'm thinking. You know, it's this is why I was showing the photo with the children and in that sense uneducated persons who were building up something. That's all. I was speaking at artificial imagination. When I was speaking to the students in Shanghai, they made after that banderoles, like for a manifestation. Thank you, it's imagination we need.
Exactly.
And that's exactly.
Yeah.
In China, I was 3 times the possibility to get in China, and there was always a very big number of things. Then operation last year that I was making first time. I was calling a street museum. They were simply plexiglass boxes, and people bought the things. In Shanghai, for 6 months, every week they came and said that they were bringing something. Several thousands of people played the game.
Wow.
And Shanghai Museum made a newsletter about every week what people brought. So I think that's the way. People are ready to play the game. We were friends with Karenia, and then we became in good relation. You know, mythology is not fables. It's a description of observed things of the world, and modern science is as well a mythology. Relativity theory, it's a mythology.
Exactly.
Quanta, it's a mythology. A best mythology to describe things.
Yeah.
And you dare to tell it in scientific conferences. It is Nobel Prize physicists who were agreeing with me
Yeah.
because they know it. You know, it's a mystification to take mythology as fable. It's a description.
It's banalizing.
Yeah.
It's
At
banalizing.
a certain cultural level, and with each cultural level it wins its mythology. Mythology is describing
The
a world.
universe. Yeah.
And this was the point of Karini. It is a world, not details.
Yeah. No, not only
And that's,
illustration.
you know, it's I think that everybody who sings practically gets the same results, but doesn't formulate it for himself. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's so I am not taking this mythology of popular wisdom. It's not that. It's animal wisdom.
Animals.
I have for this amusing story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Napoleon was an artillery officer and made the polytechnics that officers should learn after ballistic and anything. Fine. I had a dog, I was taking a ball, I was throwing it, and the dog caught it evidently. Never studied at the Polytechnic, never knew anything about ballistics.
Mm-hmm.
It was not popular wisdom. It was a very simple, normal act of a dog. So we complicate the things. We make complicated theories. Okay, it's amusing, but a real act is like the dog. We catch the ball.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times a day, and this work. I learned quite a lot by my dog. Yeah, that means its reactions. My goodness, you would tell that he is a physicist, a doctor in physics and biology. No, it was a dog acting. It's not the instinct. We were constructing a force system.
Yeah, to mislead ourselves.
I think if
mislead.
there would be visitors, extraterrestrial, they would find that dogs, I don't know what animals, they are intelligent beings, not we.
And
Because of this very simple acts. And I am looking at these acts of these children. It is like the dog. I don't know. I am myself curious, but by any means, plants react, they adapt. And there is only one thing what you can take, that to react to external reality, you don't need a central nervous system. And if I was telling this cell of me reacts without going to the central system, it acts independently and it works. You know, why I'm speaking about this as an architect. Personally, I was very much interested in physics when I was young. But I am considering the word architecture. It means that from different parts you make a meaningful wall. And architecture, that's not necessarily building. You have the architecture of computers, the architecture of a symphony. So that's it. It's a mental activity that we are doing all the moment, interpreting a word. There is a mental architecture behind it. I was, this is in a way off record, somewhat interested in a funny thing. They are speaking a lot about architecture, about artificial intelligence.
yeah.
So that's wonderful. I would be interested what could be artificial imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And was trying, it is possible, but there are some changes of the architecture of the computer behind it. I'll give you a very simple visualization. I'm human, I'm looking at the object, I get all immediate impact of the thing. A computer is scanning.
Yeah.
And scanning doesn't see the same thing as immediate impact. A camera with films gets the immediate impact. A camera with a memory card scans.
Mm-hmm.
And there is the possibility of the artificial imagination. Avoid the scanning. It's possible. You know, I am no competent with computers. I was working at MIT with computers. Okay, I was not the computer specialist in it, but I know how it works. And at that time, it was repaired by repairman. So I know what things can be changed, can be kept. Okay, so that's, I think you have.
Thank you. Give me
As well an important question. You see, it was as well treated in this. It comes by events. People speak about the importance of independence in energy. Los Angeles is a city with earthquake possibility. Every house has a solar battery because that earthquake cuts the current. Every house has a water reserve because they know when even a small earthquake comes, there is no water. So I think that this is the answer to it. It is the events that force. And this can happen in many fields. For example, we know from experience that's very bad, coming back to the earthquakes, that the phone network is cut. But now the phone network is not anymore material. So what happens if there is an unpredictable event with a satellite? You don't have a phone. You have to invent an alternative system. I don't know what it can be, but this kind of events as well produces invention. And there is one thing where what I'm criticizing very often, informatics is fundamental for our society. You have to have a usable computer or the electronic device. Can you repair it? So I think this would be a very important thing. It is possible. I was working with computers before the modern computers in 70. A skilled mechanician could repair it.
Yeah.
And it is possible today. I could imagine that you can repair and by, I don't know, a chip with a number of integrated circuits and change it by, it's comic as an example, like you change an electric bulb. And I think that's at the moment important problem of our civilization, that we are completely dependent on sophisticated technology, and you don't know what is in the box and how to repair it. This is for business speculation, but it can have as well a very bad backlash for the enterprises too. It would be logical, for example, I don't know, for Apple to make it that way that I can have spare parts and repair it. Because if there is a certain event, then I will tell, okay, all Apple devices are useless, I can throw them away. So that's very much related what I was thinking about popular architecture and what I was telling about democracy. The techniques should be conceived that how can it be adapted at popular level. I think that it would be important that students learn hackers' knowledge.
Yeah.
Because a hacker knows perhaps something more how to repair it.
Yeah.
And this has to be advanced and not looked at. You see, you have the same thing with medicine. Medicine, that's wonderful. But if people have a certain knowledge how to behave, how to react, that's very important. That if you have a cat, you can put on it a simple, I don't know, pansement, so that's fine. If you have for everything run to the doctor, this doesn't help the doctor and doesn't help you. So this popularization of technology, it's fundamental.
Yeah.
There are historians who tell that Rome collapsed because the invaders were cutting the water pipe, and the city cannot survive without water. But now I'm speaking not simply about water.
Yeah.
I can imagine a terrorist who invents how to blow up a certain satellite.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody detects. But simply all important field of communication, this exists. And that's, all these things are the same.
Yeah.
So in all these things I can tell, I am against centralization because it doesn't work. And my example for it, that my own body, it's not working that way,
but each cell knows how to repair itself.
Yes.
If it is not that way, I wouldn't be living. So that's my answer for that question.
Thank you. Okay.
You see, I'm telling it is a misunderstanding to take it politically. It's far more important than politics.